forecast that we have for our Tuesday, almost going to be an exact repeat of what we saw yesterday, with rainy and warm conditions across the area, but it's also going to be fairly breezy as well. Satellite and radar showing a couple of scattered light rain showers making their way across mid-Michigan. Most of the rainfall that we're seeing this morning is north of I-94. That'll start to change as we move into the evening hours of the day. Temperatures at 61 degrees in Lansing, 63 our current temperature in Charlotte, and 64 in Mason and Jackson. Again, rain showers will continue as we go throughout the rest of the day. A strong cold front moves through this evening. That'll give us a pretty big reality check in terms of our high temperatures by tomorrow. I'll have some more details in just a bit. 6 News This Morning continues.
WLNS is here for you with 6 News This Morning.
Election day is finally here, and millions of voters will head to the polls throughout the day to cast their ballots. Good morning, Mid-Michigan. It's Tuesday, November 5th. I'm Jorma Duran.
And I'm Megan Vaselli. Thank you so much for joining us.
6 News is here for you now with this morning's top stories. More than 81 million people have already voted early across the nation, including 3.2 million voters here in Michigan.
Yeah, and that number will, of course, start to climb starting in about half an hour.
Yeah, polls will open at 7 o'clock this morning and will close at 8 p.m. tonight. And as long as you're in line by 8 o'clock p.m., election officials say you can still cast your ballot. Now make sure to bring your photo ID to the polls. This includes a driver's license, state ID, U.S. passport, or military or tribal photo ID. Also, check your voter registration status and where your polling location is. And if you are not registered, you can still do so at your local clerk's office.
Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris made their final pitch to voters, each blitzing through the 7 battleground states. Here for you now is Jared Hill.
An Election Day tradition, the tiny town of Dixville knocks New Hampshire with the first results of the 2024 race. The 6 voters split between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris in what's proving to be a razor-thin election. In Grand Rapids, Michigan,
are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Trump, revisiting his final campaign stop from 2016 and 2020, had the last word with a late-night rally after stumping through North Carolina and Pennsylvania.
As your president, I will fight for you every single day with every breath in my body.
Are you ready to make your voices heard?
Harris went all in on Pennsylvania, closing out a multi-stop tour of the state with star-studded concert rallies in Pittsburgh, then from the base of the famous Rocky Steps at the Philadelphia Art Museum.
I pledge to always put country above party and self, and to be a president for all Americans.
Already more than 81 million Americans have voted early this election, with states like Georgia and North Carolina shattering records. Still, a lot of folks say they plan to vote today.
I want to do mine in person because I know it counts.
I'm old school, so I wanted to vote on the day of, as I normally do.
Trump is also expected to cast his ballot later today in Florida. Tonight, he and running mate J.D. Vance will watch the results come in at Mar-a-Lago. Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, will be in Washington, D.C. at Harris's alma mater, Howard University. Jared Hill, CBS News, Alexandria, Virginia.
The FBI now is ramping up security efforts to ensure everyone is safe while casting their ballot.
The agency says it has set up a command post that'll operate 24/7 and run throughout this week with the purpose to respond to possible threats made towards election workers, as well as cyber threats and foreign influence.
The command post set up at the FBI's headquarters in Washington, D.C. will work with field offices around the country to share information about possible threats. Election interference already is popping up in the form of fake videos on social media. Intelligence officials warn that foreign countries like Russia and Iran could try to spark violent protests in the U.S. after the election.
Around the nation, approximately 60 National Guardsmen from 6 states have been activated by their state governors and state active duty status for election support, with roughly another 600 Guardsmen from 17 states on standby if needed.
The command post is expected to operate through November 9th. Meanwhile, the FBI says to report any threats of violence or criminal activity to law enforcement, as well as state or local election officials.
6 News is closely watching a measure in Jackson County where residents there will vote on an operating millage renewal involving the Jackson District Library. According to library officials, the millage accounts for roughly 90% of the Jackson District's library annual revenue and collects about $9 million every year, which helps cover costs at its 13 locations. Officials say they are simply asking for a renewal and not a millage increase. This means if this proposal passes, the average Jackson County homeowner would continue to pay roughly $113 per year, or about 30 cents per day for the next 8 years.
Many state offices will be closed today because of the election. This includes all Secretary of State branches as well as unemployment insurance agency offices. However, claimants can use the agency's website to certify job searches and access other resources.
And if you plan on voting, you may need to bring a jacket and an umbrella.
Yes, rain is moving through mid-Michigan already this morning, bringing with it some gusty winds. That's forcing Consumers Energy crews to prepare so the power stays on at polling locations.
The utility based in Jackson says crews have been preparing since last night and staff is on standby for any issues. If any polling location in the agency's service area is impacted by an electric outage or natural gas leak, Consumers Energy is asking that those locations call 800-805-0490.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather on the Sixes, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
It's actually been a fairly rainy weather pattern that we've been seeing for the past few days, especially yesterday. Rainfall totals across mid-Michigan were actually quite impressive, especially between Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo, where we're seeing this slight banding of this purple color. That's where rainfall totals were already above an inch as of yesterday. Here in Lansing, rainfall totals yesterday amounted to 84/100ths of an inch, just above a half an inch over in Charlotte. More rain is falling across the area this morning, but we are going to see some dry time, especially as we move closer to the 11 o'clock hour. A couple of isolated sprinkles will still be possible by then, but overall we will be dry, looking at mostly cloudy conditions. High temperatures for today really going to be fairly impressive, up to 71 degrees, average high normally right around 52. Again, as we go throughout the rest of the day, especially into this afternoon, as those rain showers do begin to calm down, winds are going to begin to increase. Gusts anywhere between 20 to 35 miles per hour as we move throughout our Tuesday. A cold front will move through this evening, bringing another round of precipitation to the area. At that same time, winds yet again going to be increasing as well. I get the best news that we have for today is that it's not going to be a complete washout. And like I said, if you plan on going out to the polls this afternoon, maybe you'll need just the light rain jacket.
Light rain jacket, okay.
Yeah,
that's
just
exactly
a
what I
couple
brought.
sprinkles.
See, I listen.
I know.
See?
I don't.
Plus, I have to come back and
That's
do the
why we
noon,
do.
so my hair can't get messed up.
I know.
So yeah, the umbrella, light rain jacket, and you'll be all
There's so much
set.
stuff in there, though. There's not ever going to be messed. There
I
could be a
know.
hurricane out there. It'd
You
stay right
could,
there in
yeah,
place.
1,000%.
All right.
Well, coming up, we're learning new details about the deadly multi-vehicle crash on I-96. That latest update in our What's on the Web segment.
All right, your time is 6:38. Thanks for watching 6 News this morning.